In last week's video, which I'll put a link to below, we woke up in Palermo, Sicily, and shared an espresso with friends at Costa Stagnita. But the day was just beginning. Historians, authors, and Palermo residents Lou and Jackie then took us to the Ballarò market, a picturesque and lively market that seems to stretch on in its beauty and chaos. This market is ancient, and you can see that reflected everywhere. Arab, Greek, Italian, and especially Sicilian fingerprints are all over. Kamikoto is the sponsor of this video here on the Elliott Homestead, and once again, we are so excited to get to share this wonderful company with you. These are the knives that we use in our kitchen. They're made using a traditional Japanese technique used by Japanese craftsmen, and it takes years to master and to make these knives from Japanese steel. They're individually inspected, come with a lifetime guarantee, and are delivered to you in a beautiful ash wood box that makes them ideal for storage or travel. These knives are used in Michelin star kitchens around the world for good reason. They're so incredibly sharp and so wonderfully well balanced. Kamikoto has been kind enough to offer Elliott Homestead viewers a discount, so visit kamikoto.com/The Elliott to get $50 off your purchase of Kamikoto knives. While in the market, Lou took us to his favorite arancini vendor. This is a staple of Sicilian cuisine, especially street cuisine, and you'll see that regardless of where you land. But as with all foods, not all arancini is created equally. Each creator has their own specialty fillings, breadings, and techniques, but the basics remain: a ball of saffron-scented rice filled with something savory and delicious. It is then breaded and fried. Yum. Sicilian food is unapologetically simple. It pretends to be nothing else. Instead of unnecessarily complicating food behind elaborate techniques or ingredients, the Sicilians seem to prefer perfect execution done with really good ingredients. A simple dish with simple ingredients, but done to perfection. The arancini we enjoyed at the market, along with the lamb intestines and the granitas and the espresso and even the tongue, they were all superb. Not complicated, not pretentious, just mouth-wateringly good.
Come on. Another one. Come on, it's delicious.
I was going to pass one to Georgia. Georgia, you'll like it.
One and done.
And while I was there, I couldn't help but pick up a few seeds to grow some of these incredible varieties in my own garden. The history of Sicily is complicated. They've been conquered and ruled over by many. But the joy of a market is that the hardships of that history is completely smothered over with life and food and community. A market, this market, it's a snapshot of a culture in that moment, regardless of the past. Being in this old of a market with our small group of friends was like witnessing history and a bit of the future all at once. Now, I'm not a big city person, and I tend to get overwhelmed fairly easily in such crowded spaces, especially when surrounded by a foreign language. But Lou and Jackie kindly walked us through the market, sharing with us their favorite products and vendors. And as a farmer, a gardener, and a home cook, there was so much of this foreign market that was familiar to me, but the streets and the stalls, they all sang in a completely new way. All I could think about was what I wanted to cook. So Dolores of Figura, who was my host for the trip, and we purchased a few of these ingredients as we walked along to prepare for making a Sicilian staple for supper, pasta alla Norma. Dolores and I were inspired by the simplicity, and so after leaving the market with supplies in tow and saying goodbye to Lou and Jackie, we gathered up our ingredients for pasta alla Norma and we drove the small commute to our little seaside rental house in Santa Flavia. After the rush of the market, we took some time to enjoy lunch together, to enjoy swimming in the ocean together, and just to rest for a little while before we dove into the kitchen work. Okay, friends, it's time to make supper together. We have all that beautiful produce that we pulled from the market, and Dolores is gonna walk us through a dish that she loves that I don't know how to say.
Pasta alla Norma.
Pasta alla
Pasta
Norma.
alla Norma, I should
Alla
say
Norma.
it. We are in Italy, I should pronounce it correctly.
Okay, pasta alla Norma.
So this is a very traditional Sicilian dish. You'll find it all over the island, and like most Italian dishes, it's really very simple. There's not much to it.
I love that. I love that about so many recipes we've already come across. It's just ingredients.
That's it. And we've talked about, since you've been here and we've been eating, that really like it's not complicated.
Right.
It's just fresh.
Yeah.
And your viewers
Yes,
and
yes,
you
yes.
and your family know that is super important. That's why everything you do.
People think these dishes are complicated. Like it has to be, in order to be really good or really special, it has to take you hours in the kitchen and it has to be some elaborate thing, and that's just not true.
No. You know, I mean, French cooking is slightly more in that vein. Like you feel like you need a really high white hat and a white chef's coat, but Italian cooking is really in the kitchen. It's about the family. Yeah. It's about real ingredients, and it's super simple.
Yeah. There's a table behind me that you can't see that sits like 24 people. you don't have a table for 24 people unless you want to have 24 people over to come and eat with you. Yeah. So I brought my kamikoto knives and they made it. They didn't get like caught. So we're gonna do some chopping. I'm assuming we just need like a pan. And
I'm just gonna say that there's really something special about a woman who travels with kitchen knives. That's all I'm gonna say, folks. You already know about that.
Okay. John's got some chocolate rabbit going over here, which I'm going to be sharing over on Substack. So there's going to be a link for that below if you would like to check out that recipe. But we are in charge of the pasta tonight. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Tonight we eat.
Okay, the peaches are for dessert. These are going to go away for now. So I have some gorgeous eggplant here. I'm going to cube it up into like 1/2-inch cubes and salt it and what's called sweating it. So when you put salt on eggplant, it'll leach out some of the bitterness that can be in eggplants. So I'm just gonna let it sit for like 10 minutes covered in salt, and then we're just gonna pan fry it in some olive oil with some garlic. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay, Dolores says yes. Here we go.
So all the tomatoes we're using, these are just fresh cherry tomatoes, as you guys saw we picked up at the market today. This is really very simple.
Which is exactly what we need after such a busy day at the market. Yeah. Pasta alla Norma, rumor has it, got its name from the famous local composer Vincenzo Bellini. He composed the opera Norma, and it is said that this dish was such a masterpiece that when a local food writer tasted it, he shouted, "This is a true Norma," meaning this is a true masterpiece. Whether that's true or not, who's to say? I can vouch that it's very delicious. Pasta alla Norma is based on just 4 main ingredients, which you're going to see us cooking here. Tomatoes, or pomodoro, eggplant or melanzana, baked ricotta, and basil. And only good, very good, extra virgin olive oil. The process for this dish is very simple. After sweating the eggplant with salt for a few minutes, we then fry it in that really good olive oil until it's sort of deep and brown and colored and charred if your stove can get hot enough. We do the same thing with the tomato after cutting them in half. So after you've fried the eggplant and after you've fried the tomatoes, you can cook the pasta al dente, which means not cooked all the way through. It should have a little bit of bite in the middle. It should have a little bit of structure to it still in very salted water. This is your one chance to get salt inside the pasta. So you'll see us using these large pasta noodles here. That means there's a lot of dough that we're trying to penetrate with this salt. So err on the side of over-salting your water.
Every time I cook with tomatoes, I have it's like very big part of my life, tomatoes. Tomatoes, growing up in an Italian-American family, tomatoes in the garden, tomatoes in the end of August. It's a very big tradition to jar the tomatoes. You make the passata. Mm-hmm. We just did that actually a couple weeks ago in my family.
Yes, I saw this. I watch this a lot on Pasta Grannies.
Yep.
You watch Pasta Grannies?
Oh, yeah.
They're always with the tomato passata.
That's right. It's a big part. But it's just going back to what we were talking about before, which is the fresh ingredients.
Sure.
So you take a lot of time in the summer and you put in the work, as you know very well. Spend your whole summer doing that. And then all year long you have this wonderful fresh tomato to use to make delicious dishes like pasta alla Norma.
Oh man, look at this. I mean, this is it. And by the way, it's 8:45 at night. We ended up eating lunch late, enjoying a glass of wine, swimming in the Mediterranean, which is right outside of our front door. And I was told this would happen, but I didn't understand what they were talking about how all of a sudden, we went to a restaurant last night, 11 o'clock is when all the people came in to eat dinner. And we were already finished and heading off to bed. But I see how that happens now. It's like you're moving slow. I don't know if slow is the right word.
It's like, yeah, it's just like a time warp. The time, I feel like the time frame you're accustomed to in America just elongates and slightly bends. You just feel like it's okay.
Yeah.
Where at home, if you're making dinner at 8:30 at night, you're like panicking.
Right. Yeah. I'm usually like completely done.
Yeah. You're putting your kitchen to bed.
Yeah. Very much so.
That's a trademark Shaye Elliott.
Yeah.
But here, you're just getting started.
Can you give this a stir for me?
This is a nice big pot of pasta here. And then if you want to grab the ricotta, where did we put that?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, in your hand.
This is so intriguing to me, baked ricotta. I've never heard of this. I'm going to have to figure this out because we do make ricotta just from our cow's milk that we have. But I've never heard of this. I've never seen it.
So you
I don't know what they...
I to be honest, don't know the entire process from start to finish.
Okay.
But I know that they take, you'll take your fresh ricotta, it's strained, you love it.
Okay. This is like a Norwegian cheese called Elliotts.
Oh.
And it's like you take the whey that's left after making cheese and you boil it down and it makes this caramelized, intense. That's exactly what this smells like.
There you go.
It smells sweet like caramel.
Oh yeah, it does.
It's delicious. It tastes like Elliotts and ricotta is what it tastes like to me. So, so you just kind of piece this over the top, like shave it over the top?
Correct, yep. So we added the eggplant to the tomato and we tasted some of the pasta to make sure it's not al dente yet because you want to cook it a little bit in here.
With some pasta water, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And you kind of got as nice of a char as you could get on the tomatoes and on the eggplant.
Considering what we're
that
working with here,
super hot.
So normally you would take this and pour it into a colander, reserve some of the pasta water, and when you add the pasta, you add the water with it because it's the pasta water that gives you that nice starch that makes what's really just sautéed vegetables a a sauce, like a creamy consistency.
Right.
But Shaye wanted to do it with a spoon.
No, stop it. I didn't want to dump the pasta water down the drain because John needs some pasta water.
These are for another recipe. So we're gonna let this cook with some of the water too. We're gonna add a little bit and get it a little bit more cooked.
I'm just doing this noodle by noodle now. I don't have anything. I don't have anywhere to be.
We're not in a rush.
It's only 11.
Sicily.
It's just 11 p.m. It's fine.
Our families are just standing behind us,
Starving.
waiting to eat. Well, this looks nice though, right? It's coming together here.
Do the Italians have a saying like the French do, like c'est la vie?
Que sarà, sarà.
Oh, sure. Duh. That's a good one.
Actually, my favorite it's a little different, but I'm gonna riff off of what you said. My favorite that my mother always said to me is a Napolitan proverb, because we're from the province provinces near Naples called it's called Campania. And she always says to me, "Si è destin, è destin," which means if it's meant to be, if it's destined, it's destined. And there's something about when your old school Italian immigrant mother looks at you and says, "Honey, si è destin, è destin," you believe it.
I believe that.
It's wisdom, you know?
Yeah.
It's wisdom. Don't be afraid to throw hot pasta in your mouth.
Oh,
Well, it's good.
is it good? Does it need salt, pepper?
I don't just think it's perfect, but you tell me what you think. We can add some.
Okay.
Because don't forget, we're going to add some really
Hot.
ricotta.
Hot. That was too hot. She said, "Don't be afraid."
What do you think?
I should have been afraid. It had a tomato inside it.
She'll always be afraid now when you say
The eggplant is so good. It's perfect.
Right?
Yeah, it's wonderful. Look at this. That's gonna make some happy people. Okay.
Then the final
Cheese.
touches here. Yeah.
Cheese,
We're gonna
basil.
we're gonna add some of this cheese, this ricotta, this baked ricotta. Here we go. That's nice and pretty here. We might as well use everything you cut up. I have never made anything where I was like, oh, I added too much cheese.
No.
You?
No.
Okay.
It's like butter.
Yeah, it's just go for it, folks. And then last but not least, this beautiful basil that picked up at the market. And we're ready.
Okay.
A mangiare.
Okay, there you have it, our very first family style dish that we're bringing to you from Sicily. Make sure to check out all the details below, from people that we walked through the market with, to some links to the coffee shop that we visited, to Dolores's information. All that's gonna be below the video. Make sure you check it out, and we'll be back soon with more. Cheers.
The irony of this video to me is that this is the first night that Dolores and I cooked together in the kitchen when we made this pasta alla Norma, and I had no idea how far spread this dish was in Sicily. I was completely blind going in. But in our weeks there, we must have eaten this dish a dozen times. When you travel, there's always this little bit of sense of disorientation. You're not in your environment, you're not with your people, you're not in your normal routine. There's something about getting into the kitchen with your apron, with your knife, and with your friend that sort of just helps put your feet back on the ground. This is exactly what we needed after this busy time in Palermo before we headed to the countryside, which we'll share with you next week.